Welcome to the Subjective Professor podcast, where we reject coercion and hypocrisy. This is episode 47, and we're going to examine that expression, only God can judge me. Now, you don't have to actually believe in God to understand or even want to understand this expression, only God can judge me. Right? It used to be a big deal. A lot of people said it. A lot of people got it tattooed on their body somewhere. But this attitude of only God can judge me, that attitude, which basically says, you have nothing to say about me, leave me alone, that kind of attitude is everywhere. It's not just confined or restricted to religious circles, or more specifically, Christian circles. So again, as I said, this used to be the rage. Everyone would say this. I guess it sounded so pithy and so right to the point, and it just sort of was this go away kind of I have nothing to say to you, speak to the hand, whatever, that kind of attitude. And so a lot of people even got it tattooed on their bodies. So I thought that was kind of interesting. But what does it mean, and why would someone say it? Okay, so let's look at the meaning. People who use it, they probably have this attitude where people see them, don't like what they see, because what they see comes from their subjective gaze, from their subjectivity. And of course, they don't approve. And the reason why they don't approve is because they don't understand what they're seeing. They can't evaluate properly the behavior of that person who basically is saying, only God can judge me. So people see me, they don't understand me. And so therefore their critique, their conclusions of me are wrong, right? And you can see how this can easily slip into charges of racism. And this is, I think, in part why it was so popular, right? So you think you know me, you're just assuming you know me, so you have racialized me, right? And it doesn't have to necessarily be color. It can be, oh, you only see me as a jock. You only see me as a geek. You only see me as a model or whatever. And so you see nothing else. And so you don't know me, so you can't critique me. You can't judge me. God, however, is a perfect being. And, you don't actually have to believe in God. Just know that when a person invokes God, what they're imagining is like this perfect being, and how that plays out in the world is a completely different conversation. But God is perfect. He has perfect knowledge, and he judges correctly all of the time. There's no way he can get something wrong. And so because he's perfect and he judges accurately every time, no chance of getting it wrong, only God can judge me, because he won't get it wrong. And when he judges me, I'm going to be rewarded. He's going to praise me. Yet God is even going to praise me because I am that good, right? And this is also why you don't understand what you're looking at, right? When you see me, I'm beyond your intellect. I am something beyond your ken, your ability to understand. All right, so that's why people will say that. So why would they say it? Well, we could be negative and cynical and say, well, because they can't handle critique, right? They can't handle criticism, right? So they are doing what they enjoy. They're having a good time. And then someone shakes their head, or someone says, oh, you shouldn't do it that way. And they get upset, right? And so the person who says only God can judge me, they're basically saying, I know what I want, and you won't deter me from my goals because of your critique, right? You don't understand. You don't really see the value of what I'm pursuing. So leave me alone. Now, the thing is, it might be true, right? It might actually be true that other people got it wrong, right? They don't understand what it is that they're seeing, that the person who's saying only God can judge me is really on a different level, right? The total different level of existence. But if that were true, then more often than not, there would be a different reaction, right? So if someone really was of this massively superior intellect, yeah, the last thing that they would probably do is tattoo "Only God Can Judge Me" on their body somewhere, right? They would not go off on some inferiority, sense of, inferiority, or that they've been insulted somehow. Usually that would be, the reaction. You wouldn't have that as a reaction usually. But then even if we live in a free society, which we do not, but if we lived in a free society, then anyone can say what they want, right? So people can critique me, say whatever it is that they want to say. I mean, who cares? Because all associations are voluntary, right? The freedom of association. That's what we have in this, well, what we're supposed to have in this country, right? So, and which is interesting, right? I just saw this thing about the Chinese morality social credit score thing, where people who have a really ultra low credit score, everyone around them on their phones will get a warning that you are 500 meters within or 500 meters close to someone with a really bad social credit score. So don't go near them. Otherwise, your credit score will take a dip as well. So much for keeping the family together, I guess. Anyway, but so it's interesting, right? So it's freedom of association unless the government intrudes and tells you which relationships are okay to have and which relationships are not okay to have. So that would be why people would say it. But again, as I said, if you really are a superior person, you probably wouldn't have a hissy fit and just, get angry and start yelling, "Only God can judge me." I don't think that would be the reaction. So let's analyze this. Okay, so does the Bible really say only God can judge me, right? Well, sort of. I guess it depends on the translation, the version that you have. But if I read from the NIV, which was the popular translation when I was younger, New International Version, it goes like this in 1 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 3-5, right? So this is in the Christian scriptures or the New Testament, one of the letters that the Apostle Paul was writing. He was writing it to the believers in Corinth. So it's the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verses 3-5. I care very little if I am judged by you or any human court. Indeed, I do not even judge myself. My conscience is clear, but that does not make me innocent. It is the Lord who judges me, right? Or God who judges me. Now, the context is really important, right? As we always know, we can take things out of context and make someone appear to say what they actually didn't mean, right? So if we take things out of context. And so at this point in this letter, the controversy that was taking place in Corinth was that a lot of the people in the church there, they were sort of picking their favorite teacher, right? So people would come through Corinth, they would teach and share and teach about Jesus and teach the word of God to them. And people started having favorites. And so some people like Paul, some people like the Apostle Peter, some people like this guy Apollos. And so they were having this big debate, like, oh, my guy is better than yours, this kind of interesting, petty kind of debate, right? And so Paul is basically saying, look, this is not important. I'm not critiquing myself. Am I better than this guy or that guy? I mean, that's not what's going on here. All I'm doing is teaching you what I know, and you got to learn it if you want. And he's not thinking about comparing or looking and thinking in terms of popularity contests. He's not doing that at all. He's like, I'm just doing my job, And when I die, God will judge me because he's the one that judges. All right, so now let's bring it back. So that's where what the Bible is saying about only God can judge me, right? So it's similar, but not really what it means, right? Because the standard that God probably has is would make it hard for anyone to actually feel comfortable getting judged. And when we're being judged, I don't care who you are, it's always a nerve-wracking kind of experience. And so to confidently say, only God can judge me, well, that kind of means that you really don't know what is involved in this judgment thing. So let's take another take. So what are people really saying? They're really saying, don't try to change me, right? Don't say that I have to grow more, learn more. I'm perfect the way I am right now, right? Don't tell me that I'm not there yet, that I have to do more work, right? So if I'm an athlete, that I have to work on my skills more, I got to work on my fundamentals. If I'm a scholar, I got to read more, I got to broaden my knowledge more. Don't tell me this stuff. I'm awesome right now. And if we were to sort of take a look at the church, a lot of people in the church want to hear that they've made it, right? That they don't need to learn anymore, right? They're already saved, right? They're going to heaven, so there's nothing else to do, right? They just have to keep on doing what they're doing now, and life is going to be gravy. So you see that same attitude in the church. Some people will say, you got to take me as I am. Jesus took me this, as I am, so you have to too. And so in class, I would joke around. I would say, now imagine saying this to your future spouse, right? It doesn't matter gender, it doesn't matter. So your future spouse, you say, hey, you got to take me as I am. Don't try to improve me. Don't try to change me. Don't try to say that I got to do better, because this is perfection right here. You can't change perfection, right? If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? So imagine saying that to someone, right? So let's just say you got married early, you're 20 years old, and you're so full of hormones. You're like, yeah, this is awesome. You're perfect. Let's get married. And you get married, 20 years go by, you are still playing on your Nintendo or Xbox or whatever people are playing on these, or PlayStation, whatever. And your wife is working, trying to be responsible, paying the bills, raising the kids perhaps, and you're still sitting there in the couch in your man cave asking when dinner is going to be ready, And then if your wife says something, because usually it's a guy that says this, right? And so if your wife says, hey, why don't you help out a little bit? And you're like, hey, don't judge me. Don't try to change me. You knew what you were going to get married to, spend the rest of your life with, right? This is me. This is perfect, Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think most people are interested in marrying a lifelong adolescent, unless you're a little kinky that way. So that's really, it falls flat, right? You really can't say this kind of thing over time to people who are going to be with you for an extended period of time. So if you think about the narcissistic virtue signaling society of today, they're not interested in growing. All they care about is getting attention, getting recognition for having achieved and done awesome things, right? That's the whole virtue signaling thing, right? Look at this awesome thing I did. I haven't changed as a person. I'm not more responsible. I'm more attention seeking. I might have even set this up in order to get a lot of attention. I might have ruined my life, but hey, give me attention and recognition for this awesome thing that I just did. And so a lot of people who do not get that attention, right, that they want so much, right, all they're getting is, oh, you gotta do more, you gotta get better, you gotta work on your fundamentals, right, you gotta do this and do that. They're not having it, right? They're like, what are you talking about? I am perfect, I am awesome like this. Only God can judge me. Stop telling me I have to improve. Stop telling me I have to grow up. Stop telling me I have to have more responsibility. get a job, whatever, support myself, move out of the basement, take a shower, cut my hair, wear better clothing. You're 60 years old, stop wearing short shorts and whatever, so it's that kind of thing, right? So people who think they deserve and they desire to hear accolades, praise, get attention from other people, and they're not getting it, well, then they're going to either invoke this or go find a place where everyone is not going to critique anything that they see. Here's a funny story. So I would explain it that way. There was a part of the semester where we would have to go over scripture, and I would talk about a similar passage, and then I would say, hey, those people that would walk around and they would tattoo, "Don't judge me," or, oh, excuse me, "Only God can judge me," right, on their chest or on their arms or whatever. Really and I would say exactly what I just said, right? Imagine going up to someone saying, "Hey, baby, you should marry me, but don't judge me. Don't try to change me. Don't try to improve me, because I'm never going to change. I will always be a child." Imagine saying this, right? And so everyone kind of giggled a little bit. And then one student stayed behind, right? Big African-American guy. And he said, "Yo, check this out." And he opened his shirt, and tattooed across his chest in big letters, "Only God can judge me." And he just started laughing so hard. And we had a good laugh about that. And he said, basically, yeah, it's exactly that. And he had a hairy chest too. So he let the hair grow out. So it kind of hit it a lot. But he agreed with me, and actually he tried to get into another class with me, but that didn't work out. But here's the thing. Society around us is constantly changing. Life around us is constantly changing. And so therefore we have to adapt. We need to grow. I mean, think of each individual as kind of like a business, right? And you're trying to sell your product. So if we as an individual, we are like a business, we are selling ourselves, not prostitution, selling ourselves, but in a way, selling ourselves to be hired for a job, for a relationship, whatever, right? And so as society changes, you have to adapt. So depending on what you're doing, you have to be able to have the skill set, or the character, the responsibility, whatever, for what it is that you're trying to obtain. So I already told you in a previous episode that my university decided not to renew my contract. I can't go into details because I'm still in arbitration, but so I have to look for another job. And I found a job, but it's to teach junior high, middle school, right? But at this point, because the market is so tight, that's basically the only place where I can get a job, right? Universities, I mean, they're being flooded with all these applications of all these other out of work professors. And so there it is, right? And so I'm almost 60 years old, and I've been teaching university in the university level for over 20 years. And now I'm going to be teaching 6th to 8th graders. This will be very interesting, but hey, you got to adapt, right? And always got to be ready, see what's coming. A lot of people think that they can get a job, work the same job, and then retire with that job and then collect a pension, whatever. Talk about pensions in a different, some other time. But that's not exactly ideal. But that America is gone, right? We're living in a society of high inflation, a lot of government irresponsibility, all these bureaucracies. The banks are failing. A lot of the policies of the Federal Reserve have caused a lot of these bankruptcies, which is then shaking up the market. Businesses are here today, gone tomorrow. And so that lifelong career at one company is kind of a thing of the past, right? People try to have it today with things like tenure and seniority and things like that. But for the most part, for a vast majority of society, that is an impossible dream. And since it is not possible, you have to constantly hone your skills, just like what we talked about with Sun Tzu. You have to see what's coming. You have to see the changes that are coming down the road, anticipate them, prepare so that when the changes do come, you can easily slip into something else, right? And that is how you keep life from sort of stabbing you in the back kind of thing, to punching you in the face, whatever. Now, my father was always like, you gotta keep pushing, you gotta keep growing, it's not good enough, you gotta keep, and it was this thing where, wow, I'm never done. I'm never going to be done. And nothing is ever good enough. And so the danger is that you have that feeling where you think that, oh, I did this awesome thing, I should get recognized for it. And so now I can take it easy. But people who see the future, right, who see the things that are coming in the future, will always urge people to continue to grow, to adapt, to be excellent at whatever it is that you do, and always to try to be excellent in as many things as possible, so that if things do go sideways, you'll be able to adapt and stay on your feet. And if people depend on you, then you don't let them down, right? So this is something that perhaps we should consider. Many of us would love to be able to say, go away, this is who I am, you don't like it, then why are you still here? But if we realize that there might be a little bit of truth in some of the critique that we hear, consider it, right? And if it's really something that they don't understand, then you really don't have to listen to it. But every once in a while, you will hear a very accurate critique, which will tell you how you need to improve yourself, right? Become a better person. And the better you are as a person in one area of your life, hopefully you can carry that over into all the different aspects of your life as well. Well, that's it for today. I will see you in the next episode.